Hi, I'm Wymer and I'm going to share about what I learned in Greece and Italy.
A lot of the interest activities enabled me to truly think about all of the history and culture built in these beautiful countries. Doing the before the tour activities gave me a better background knowledge than most, and therefore I was able to adapt to the culture of the countries more easily. This was because I knew of the trends due to the before your tour activities, such as Breakfast of Champions and comparing cities. The during your tour activities allowed me to deeply understand and appreciate the detail and beauty of many places such as the Vatican as shown right now. Through one of the interest activities called Photo Alphabet, I learned about the Vatican. The Vatican is a small state in Rome, Italy. There, one could see the museums with the Sistine Chapel. In that chapel, one is forbidden to take pictures because it is a holy place and is named Chapel of Sista. There are also gardens and beautiful fountains. On the ceilings of one of the places in the Vatican is all painted and is showing God dividing dark from light. It expresses that humans are sinners who need God to rescue them. In 1512, Michelangelo painted portraits that he worked on for 4 years in just one room. In one of the Vatican museums, there was a place called the Last Judgment, which took Michelangelo 6 years to make. It was 3,000 square feet of artwork. There were paintings of St. Lawrence, St. John the Baptist, and one of St. Barton's being skinned alive. Through reflecting on this image of the Vatican, I've noticed all the detail I was missing on before and how every single detail has a meaning. Our tour guide at the Vatican explained everything very thoroughly. In the architectural styles interest activity, I examined the Fountain of Four Rivers, which was sculpted by Bernini and built in the 1600s. It represented four different rivers from four different countries all uniting into one fountain. These different rivers came from Africa, America, Asia, and Europe. St. Agnes Cathedral, which was located directly behind the fountain, was in agony because they were about to be decapitated for being Christian. The cathedral was built by Brusolinis. Bernini and Brusolinis were in a fight, so on the fountain sculpture, Bernini put the faces of the people being disgusted at the cathedral. In the interest activity, statue selfies, I was interested in studying the Colosseum, which was a hippodrome made for entertainment. It was made of bricks, clay, and limestone because they used practical resources that were around them rather than marble. It was free to get into the Colosseum. They used their enslaved people as fighters. They would fight themselves or exotic animals. This experience was truly amazing. During the EF trip, we switched places we were staying at 5 times, which seems like a lot of moving, but it was beyond worth it because we got to experience a lot of different parts of the country and knew the adventure that awaited us was well worth it. This was the view from our first hotel. One of the most famous fountains in Italy is the Trevi Fountain because it is a traditional legend that if one throws a coin into the fountain, they are sure to return to Rome. There was a huge food aspect to the trip. In the share a meal activity, I was able to share about spaghetti bolognese. One of my favorite things was visiting the monasteries. Before going, we took a look at the view in Metairie, Greece. The monastery here is one of the biggest in the area. The typical day for nuns and monks is praying for 8 hours, working for 8 hours, and sleeping for 8 hours. They do this all together to come one step closer to God. Monastic life is very related to Christian church. The reason I find it so interesting is because it's hard to imagine this place on top of a mountain being home to many. It's a different lifestyle, and that is what interests me. The Greek dinner was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It showed us all of the different values and aspects of the Greek life. This included putting a glass filled in a basket and twirling it around and the liquid staying in the bottle. Belly dancing, Greek dancing with boys and girls, singing, and smashing plates at the end of the dinner. My favorite part was when all of us sang Mamma Mia together. This was my favorite dinner of the EF tour experience. In the interest activity, getting to know the locals, I interviewed Stelios, who was our tour director for the entire trip, to find out and compare the two cultures, United States and Europe. Do you think it's respectful for people to educate themselves on your culture when visiting another country?
I think it's a prerequisite, not only because it gives a, generally speaking, like an overall better experience, but also because it gives like a different standpoint to those people as well. You know, it's very, I think the best way to understand who you are as a person, as a nation, or as a individual is to see the way that others see you. Because judging by that, maybe you can find out a lot of things about yourself. And all this is combined in traveling. Because in traveling, there is a constant comparison. Comparison between back home and today. Between the food back home and today, between the culture back home and what you're seeing right now. Between even the way that we behave between each other. So it cannot be fake. I mean, you cannot fake that. Even if you are like the best actor, still at the very end of the day, you will get this essence out. And
Would
this
it,
is,
would it help you to, if they learned how to communicate with you before they came here? Not like just language, but just like the culture, like the kissing, the
well,
action.
it would help in that sense that if they understand that we have to, certain rules we have to abide by. For example, you have to be careful. We're not always like stopping when you're about to cross the street, or we're not always respecting the queue, or we're not always respecting the space, like the personal privacy space between each other. So if you have all those things in mind and you don't presume the way that people are going to treat you, but you also keep your backup, your security measures, I think most of the times you're gonna have an awesome time. And
Based on all of the relevant information Stelios told me, I was able to conclude that there are various ways North America and Europe communicate differently. What is important to me is that others are able to use this information in a positive manner and learn from this experience. This can include taking precautions such as knowing that other cultures don't adapt to newcomers, so learning about their culture and the way other countries work will enable one to communicate and then have an overall better travel experience. Throughout the trip to Italy and Greece, I was constantly surprised with all of the information I was learning and applying to other aspects of my life. The EF trip gave me the ability to experience the amazing countries of Italy and Greece, excel in global learning, which will continue past this trip, and forge lifelong friendships with all the people I met. I'm so grateful to have shared this experience with all of them.